Hello everyone. I thought today I would show you what I think about when I go to improvise on a song. And keep in mind that if you talk to 100 different players, you're going to get 100 different variations on what they think about when they solo. So this is just my personal feelings on what I do. Okay, so the first thing I usually start with I think about is scales, okay? So when I say scales, I'm talking about all different types of scales, okay? Major scales, minor scales, and when I say minor scales, I'm talking all kinds of minor scales: melodic minor, harmonic minor, natural minor, and so on, okay? Other scales like blues scales, pentatonic scales, diminished scales, whole tone scales, chromatic scales, just basically any scale you can find, learn it, okay? Because it's important to, having tools to improvise on. Okay, so scales, okay? Another thing I think about is outlining chords, okay? So in other words, if I see an F major 7 chord, okay, instead of thinking of an F major scale to go against that, okay, I think of outlining the F major 7 chord like this. Like that. Just taking the F major 7 chord, or any major 7 chord, okay, and just outlining the actual chord itself rather than thinking of a scale. And where I learned that was the guitarist Larry Carlton, this famous session guitarist. I had bought a videotape of his, when I was a kid, and he talked a lot about outlining chords as opposed to playing scales against that. Okay, so that's something I think about. Riffs or licks. Okay, so these are predetermined set of notes that you know are going to sound good. Okay, so in other words, say for instance, of a G major 7, I might do a lick like this. See that, or something, like this, or all different kinds of licks. Okay, those are all licks. Those are things that I've practiced. Hopefully I can play them in all different speeds so that I can burn if I want on it and everything like that. But it's just, they're predetermined notes that I know are going to sound good before I even play it like that. And every player has their own licks and riffs. Don't let any player ever try to tell you that when they're improvising, they're thinking completely off the top of their head. Every player has licks that they play all the time. So that's that. Harmonic variations or substitutions, okay? What I mean by that is that, let's say I see a C7 in the music, okay? Well, instead of me just playing over a C7 chord, sometimes I'll superimpose, like, say, a flat 9 chord or a sharp 9 chord over that, okay? So instead of having to be like that, I might go, even though the music says C7, I'm actually putting a C7 flat 9 there. And that gives me the option of playing that D flat, okay? Or a sharp 9. Like that, I can think of the D sharp, okay, or the E flat. Okay, so harmonic variations or substitutions. And then the other thing is rhythmic variations. So in other words, if I'm playing a scale, okay, I might think of, I'm varying it up rhythmically, okay? And that's important too, because you don't want to just play scales like that and everything. So you want to break it up, rhythmically, okay? So those are kind of the things I think about before I actually start to solo over a tune, okay? Now, I'm going to play the tune All the Things You Are, okay? And I'm just kind of show you how I would approach playing something like that, okay? All right, so let's see. I'm going to play maybe 8 bars, and then I'll stop and explain what I did if I did something interesting. So let's see. Okay, so something like that. So I started off, what I did was that the first 5 chords in this song, the key of the song is A flat major, okay? The first 5 chords are F minor 7, B flat minor 7, E flat 7, A flat major 7, D flat 7, okay? Those are the first 5 chords. Now, instead of me thinking about a scale that goes against each one of those chords, I'm going to lump those 5 chords into one key, the key of A flat, okay? Because F minor 7 in the key of A flat is the 6th chord, B flat minor 7 is the 2 chord, E flat 7 is the 5, A flat major is the 1, okay, and D flat is the 4, okay? So those chords all belong to the key of A flat. So rather than me think of an individual chord to go against each one of those chords, I'm just going to play over the scale of A flat over those first 5 chords. So that's basically what I did when I just played that. Okay, so those first 4 or 5 chords, I just played an A flat major scale against those particular chords, okay? Now, where I broke it up was on the E flat 7, okay? I went, here it is. Now, there's an example of the chord substitutions, okay? On the music, it says E flat 7, but what I did was I outlined an E flat 7 flat 9 chord. Hear that? So that's what made that a little bit more interesting, okay? Okay, and then on the C major 7, what I did was I played a scale, but I put the flat 5 in there, or the sharp 11, the F sharp, okay? So instead of just playing a straight C major scale, which would be nothing special, you know, but hopefully the F sharp, the sharp 11, kind of made that a little more interesting. Okay, now going on, let's see here. Okay, so in other words, so the C minor 7. Okay, so basically what it went over there was the C minor 7, the F minor 7. I just played basically a C minor scale. Okay, the first interesting thing there was on the B flat 7, I went. Okay, there's another example of superimposing a chord. What I did there was I played actually a G major triad over that B flat 7. Okay, so that's an example of superimposing a chord, okay? It says B flat 7, but I'm putting the G major triad, okay? And why that worked was the B, okay, is the flat 9, okay? The G would be the 13th, and the D is the 3rd, okay? But I look at that as a G major triad over a B flat 7. I don't think that I played the flat 9 or I played the 13th. I thought of a G major triad. So that's an example of superimposing a chord over that, okay? All right, so let's see. Okay, there's an example of a lick, okay? So when I played the G major 7 at that point, this thing, that's a lick. That's something I've played for many, many years. I can play it at pretty much different speeds like that, and that's what might make that a little bit interesting, okay? Now, let's see here, going on, okay, so nothing I did special there. The A minor 7, the D7, okay, that was kind of outlining the A minor 7. That stuff was, I was coming down, that's a D7 chord, I was coming down on a G major scale. Because the D7 is the 5 chord in the key of G, so I was coming down on the G major scale. And now I'm playing around on a G chord like that. And again, I'm doing some rhythmic things. Put some triplets in there. That's an important thing too. Triplets can't be overlooked. I use triplets so much. Okay, and where I heard that was a pianist named Billy Taylor. My dad had records of him, and I heard Billy Taylor as a kid, and I heard him playing triplets to death all the time, and I loved that. And I wanted to know why his stuff swung like that. And I realized later on that it was triplets. My dad taught me that those were triplets, and I use triplets all the time like that. So anyway, all right. And then let's see here. And then I just went up the E major scale on the... Okay, let's continue. Okay, now there's a rhythmic variation, okay? On the F minor 7 to the B flat minor 7, okay? What I did was to E flat 7, A flat major, okay? Okay, what only thing that made that interesting is that I varied it up rhythmically instead of. And by the way, that was an A flat major scale. Again, I'm lumping chords into these things here. The F minor 7 is the 6 in the key of A flat, B flat minor is the 2, E flat 7 is the 5, A flat is the 1, okay? But what I did there to make it a little interesting rhythmically, 1. Hopefully that made it more interesting than just playing a straight scale, eighth notes like that, okay? Okay, so there, what basically kind of went, the D flat major 7, I kind of outlined that D flat major 7 chord. Okay, the G flat 13, I didn't do anything, okay? And that's an important thing too, is that sometimes you got to know when not to play, okay? Miles Davis was incredible about that. I mean, Miles would let 2 or 3 bars go by sometimes and not play a note, just let the rhythm section breathe and let everything breathe. So you don't have to play, keep that in mind too. When you solo, you don't have to solo on every single measure, okay? It's good to sometimes take a breath. And that, that's a mistake that pianists and guitar players, tend to do sometimes, is because we don't have to take a breath. We tend to overplay. We play a whole bunch of notes constantly, where horn players have to stop and take a breath because they have to take a breath. So sometimes, like I say, pianists and guitar players are guilty of playing too much. So there was a case I didn't play anything on that G flat and just let it ride. Okay, I think on the B diminished 7, I went. Okay, that's again is outlining the chord, but what I did was I again rhythmically like that. So that maybe made that a little interesting. Okay, now no great shakes there. The B flat minor 7, the E flat 7, A flat. I just played an A flat major scale. Something like that. Okay, so I'm just going to run through the whole thing and just see what I can come up with improvisation. Something like that, okay? So hopefully that helps you, when you improvise over a song. These are the things that I think about, and I'm sure you guys can come up with your own things. And like I say, I'm saying this now, and 15 minutes from now I might come up with completely different ideas and whatever, but this is a good starting place. Okay, take care.